gentlemen. Hell yeah. And either we heal now as a team, or we will die as individuals. That's football, guys. That's all it is. Now, what are you gonna do?
Yeah. Yeah.
Hey everybody, happy Friday. Welcome in. This is Any Given Wager here across the Betting News Network. We appreciate you joining us, whether you're finding us on Twitter, on Twitch, on YouTube, wherever it should happen to be. You will notice once again, just like yesterday, it is a tandem, not a trio. Adam Kaufman, Danny Burke hanging with you. Daniel Collins is live. He's active in our text thread, but sadly, due to all the running around, Danny, and you're going to see him later on throughout the weekend, all the craziness that is happening for the big BNN meetup in Chicago, SPJ, Sweatpants Jesus, Mr. Collins is floating around, getting things ready. Submitted picks. We've got his picks to give out during this show, but he couldn't join us, which is unfortunate because any opportunity we have to, I don't know, kind of rail on his Titans before they play a game, I prefer to do that face-to-face as opposed to when he's not around to hear. Nevertheless, I think the two of us, plus John Hyslop in just a little bit, will carry the day.
No doubt. Huge slate to look forward to this Sunday. Always a shame when we're missing SPJ or one of us, but yeah, we'll have to get those punishments next week. But we got plenty of plays from our guy. I know he's excited about his Titans this weekend. So what could go wrong, right? Once you start backing your team, what could go wrong? That's exactly how I felt. I was just making a video for college football this week, and I like my Cornhuskers a bit too much, so that's always terrifying. But, we'll see what happens this weekend. A lot of fun with the meetup, as you alluded to. Going to see some fans, which will be great to meet up with everybody spread out throughout the country. And, hey, we got more playoff baseball here in Wrigley where we're hanging out. So
yeah,
you got that along with plenty of football.
Beautiful. Yeah, like Danny said, no punishments today without SPJ, so I guess we'll postpone those through the weekend, regroup on Monday. Kind of a shame. I could use some smelling salts today. I'm a little tired. Could use a little to and get going. But look, let's begin by before we do our preview and game by game. Excuse me, bring in slop. You see what I mean? I'm just like dead. We got to start with last night because last night. The beginning of carnage in survivor pools apparently here in week 6, because I can guarantee, I'm not saying most popular play, but up there, I'm sure top, 3 to 5 Philadelphia Eagles going into this week as a roughly 7-point road favorite at the Meadowlands against a Giants team that had just in the previous outing turned the ball over 5 times, lost to the New Orleans Saints of all teams. Jackson Dart had looked like, Cinderella turned into a pumpkin, if I can mix metaphors or whatever. There was no Malik Neighbors, no Darius Slayton. Didn't matter. None of it mattered, Danny. Everything that we said on this show yesterday, I hope people were enjoying it and here for the vibes and all that stuff, because all the analysis we gave you, largely on the whole, largely sucked. New York doubled up Philadelphia, 34-17. There were stretches where it looked like the Eagles in the second half might be live to come back and win this thing. And then it was turnover after turnover, whether a Hurts interception or somebody would fumble the ball. Dart exhibiting that swagger. Cam Scattaboo, before ripping the shirt post-game on Prime, was electric toward the end of this one, but not nearly what you and I needed. We gave out 3 Cam Scattaboo bets across the 3 of us. He cashed for SPJ going over the rush receiving. The receiving, however, fell a yard or 2 short for you.
2 yards short.
I needed one more catch, which obviously you and I, if he had gotten the one more catch, I'm pretty confident he would have gotten the 2 more yards. So he left us both hanging. Mm-hmm. That was unfortunate. And in the process, just to let people know, we went 3-4, lost 2 units. So the slide continues down collectively as a show of about 26 units, which honestly makes me want to throw up in my mouth a little bit.
Oh, it is no bueno. That is for sure. Yeah, the bright side, the analysis, the AJ Brown coming alive did come to fruition, but again, this Eagles team just completely sloppy all over the place, and it seemed like the short week didn't do him any favors. And again, it's the short week road trip against a division opponent, always a little tricky laying those big numbers, but certainly didn't think it was going to be as big of a stinker as it was last night for Philadelphia. And look, at the same time, too, I mean, you expected some regression, right? We talk about Saquon Barkley and tailbacks in the past who rushed for over 2,000 yards, inevitably regressed the following season. Super Bowl hangovers with a team like Philly. Despite their good start, nothing was seamless for them. So it seemed like it was only a matter of time before, those losses caught up with them in those narrow wins. And now you're seeing it pile on a little bit in these past two games. Last week at home against Denver, a team that is good, sure, but I don't think they're as great as a lot of people pegged them to be. And then obviously the Giants is outstanding and electrifying as the duo of Jackson Dart and Cam Scadaboo are. Certainly not as good, or they shouldn't be as good as they appeared last night. But man, I mean, that as crazy as it seems, this is like one of the most fun teams to watch in football with the New York Giants. And I don't know if I've ever said that in my life. I don't know if anyone's ever said that in my life, even when they were winning Super Bowl.
Yeah, even with Eli Manning, they certainly weren't in that category.
Seriously, yeah, just very mundane. Yeah, there's some, defensively maybe, but I mean, these young guys are really something else. And it's just like every play too, Adam. You got Jackson Dart. We were talking about this yesterday. He's leading with his head, diving for a first down. Cam Scadaboo, we know, is a psycho, leading with his head too. I mean, hopefully these guys stay healthy. But what's that?
Walking concussion.
Yeah, I mean, literally. Yeah, I mean, and Dart too. He's just throwing his body out there, and it's. Gruden was talking to him. I mean, this guy's been in the concussion protocol or to the tent, however many times in a short span. So they got to be careful, but it's a blast to watch him nonetheless.
Yeah, I mean, I never root for injury or anything like that. Dart's fun to watch, like you said. I wasn't rooting for Dart to get hurt, but being someone who invested in the Eagles, not only just in money line parlays, which are all dead before the week has even started, really, and, I didn't use them in Survivor. Other people obviously did, just needing that win. Or, me as a show play, investing in Philadelphia to cover. In that second half, Dart leaves, goes to the 10, as you said. Russell Wilson comes in for a hot second. I'm thinking, all right, this wouldn't be the end of the world. We got a chance to come back here if Russell Wilson stays in this game. And if it was short-lived, Dart comes back. And it's like, well, all right, not going to happen for me and for the show, I guess. Really, excuse me, we kind of screwed ourselves a little bit, Danny, because we talked ourselves into, or I talked you into, I don't know, either way, we talked ourselves into investing in Saquon Barkley anytime touchdown against his old team, which he did do in the previous meeting, as we know, and rush for 175 plus yards. He was excellent. And man, that cost us a unit and a half because it was a minus 150 play. But on top of that, it was just once again, even in this matchup where he should have gone off, Saquon did not look himself. And you mentioned during the show yesterday, guys who rush for 2,000 yards are in that vicinity and just regress substantially the following year. We've seen it with Derrick Henry, as we know, and we'll talk about Baltimore in a little while. But now the same thing with Barkley. He just can't get right, whether it's a lack of protection, a lack of finding a holes, decent defense on the other side, whatever the combination may be. Saquon Barkley looking. And I'm not going to, for all the excuse making, I'm not going to say Madden curse. I'm not going to throw out Madden, but God damn, he looks terrible this year.
Yeah. And funny enough, I mean, last night was his, well, I guess you could say best performance because, I mean, that game against the Chiefs, yeah, he ran for 88 yards at 4 yards. Okay. So that would be his best performance. 4 yards a clip, 22 carries, but he was averaging 4.8 yards per carry last night, Adam, 12 for 58. The issue is his defense didn't help him out at all because they were never in a position to where they could comfortably get the offensive game plan they wanted with them, which of course is getting that running attack going. It was just immediate backs against the wall. All right, now we got to put our quarterback in a position where he's not typically comfortable, which seems wild to say for a Super Bowl winning quarterback, but that's just not their MO, right? They're not passing it consistently, which began with these frustrations with AJ Brown. And he did get involved and got over his receptions in the first half, and that's fine and dandy. But for the long term for the Eagles, look, their defense realistically will be okay, but yeah, they got to get a little bit better rhythm offensively and not just be so one-sided with how they approach things, because it can only get you for so long. Great last year, but now you have a lot of teams with way much more film to prep for with it.
We have got loads of games to talk about, and we're going to spend a few minutes on each one when we get there in just a little bit. We remind you, of course, you can always support our partners, BetOnline. You can join up, use the promo code BNBOL55, sign up, and make it worth your while. Obviously, come hopefully cash some bets with us. Let's bring in our first, our only, but our regular guest of this program, John Hyslop on Twitter at Slop Rules. I know, coming at us, Slop, with just 2, not 3. We miss SPJ today as he is out partying in Chicago, getting things ready for the big meetup. That if anyone is in the area, go check it out. Obviously, Danny will be part of that thing as well. How are you doing?
Just living the dream, boys. Living the dream. How did Thursday Night Football treat you guys?
Overall, poorly. Mixed bag, I guess, in terms of the prop market. Cam Scattaboo didn't quite do enough for us. We needed 2 more receiving yards, 1 more reception from him. We had a Saquon Barkley anytime touchdown. That didn't sniff the end zone because at short yardage, they were just looking elsewhere every time. And I, like a fool, apparently, had Philadelphia to cover in this game. Couldn't even win outright as a heavy favorite. Should have listened to the trends on that one. Jalen Hurts sucks as a heavy favorite on the road. But what about you? Did you climb a ladder?
Yeah, we actually fell off a ladder, but I did try to climb it. So that's all that mattered. Yeah, I went tight end, so I called that script wrong. I went tight ends for the Giants, who they were never really a factor. They threw to Theo on the first play, I believe. First, second play, didn't get him. He didn't get enough targets to get home, so his over 3.5 didn't hit. And the other one, can't even think of his name right now. Oh, Bellinger. He didn't even get a target. So tough loss. It is what it is. You move on. But yeah, that was gonna be fun. I'll be honest with you, I was very confident. I was very excited. We got bowling on Thursday night, guys. So we're gambling, we're bowling, maybe drinking. It's a good night. Good night, but not great in that game.
It's great. You got Sunday.
Yeah, I was just gonna say tough one all around. Yeah, we were all sweating out that Scattaboo, and it was like this. Like he didn't even get targeted really till the end of the game. We got the AJ Brown there, split with Scattaboo there, Slop. But yeah, the tight ends, everybody was along with like Scattaboo in a lot of departments. We're all kind of infatuated with him. Obviously with the absence of Neighbors and Slayton, you figured that Theo Johnson would get propped up, and just wasn't the case. But we'll see if he can still get utilized going forward. But I think that was still the right approach with it.
Yeah, it is what it is. You know what you do? You just move on. It's everyone's game. Like, dude, 3 weeks from now, like you're gonna look back at this game and not even remember much. You're like, oh yeah, that sucked. That's all it's gonna be to you. You know what I mean? So you can't get too down, just like you can't get too up either.
Here's the thing. Level head.
Yeah, here's the thing though. We kind of can get up because thank God they're playing games Sunday.
A lot of them.
Darren Waller. Over 3.5 receptions is minus 106. I see an even money out there right now for 4 receptions, guys. That's not a first half line, first drive line. That is literally for the whole game. Here's the thing. It's kind of like baseball. I don't know if you guys pay attention to baseball, but like when a starting pitcher is getting built up and, he threw 60 pitches one game, then he throws 75 the next game. But he's being priced like he's, always going to be that when damn well he's going to throw 100 at some point. This is going to be the start where he actually throws 100, Darren Waller, except he's not going to be throwing. He's going to be playing more snaps. His snaps have gone up each game. You saw what he did. I think the first game he played like 16 snaps. He caught like 3 balls, like 1,000 touchdowns. It was crazy. Last week, he had 5 catches in the first half. All right. He didn't even play that much. I think he only played like 38 snaps. So this week, though, he's saying he's probably getting a full workload. And when you're looking at target share and things like that, he's there, guys. Like he's 100% going to get targeted, I'd say 7-8 times as a floor. And with as much as the Chargers play zone, he's just going to sit in there. So 4 receptions. I know what you're thinking, Adam. What's the price on 5? $220. $220 at some place.
Jump from right around even for 1 more catch.
5 catches. Guess how many he had last week, Danny?
Yeah, 5. Yep, go 5.
In the first half. First half. So that
Didn't
didn't
do anything after. And I don't
He
mean
didn't
like,
need
oh,
to.
he's not like he didn't get a single target. What was
Not
up
one
with that?
target. He didn't need to. He I watched an interview with them, so I know what's going on. They were just bracketing him, doing weird stuff like that, making the ball go somewhere else. The Dolphins will be ready for that this week. You know, McDaniel's probably a genius, so maybe he's not. Who cares, though? 5 receptions. 5. That's it. Go 4. I went 4, but like I said, you go up to 5. If you want to go yards, I thought what was very interesting was he's in the 30s. So you know, 36 and a half. But if you want to be a man, you could go 50 plus. And it looks like it's plus 170 at the best book. So 50 plus, guys. That's not a record. I mean, you wouldn't even probably wouldn't even make SportsCenter for that. But it's plus 170. So that's pretty much where I'm going to head Sunday. Or for a straight one. That's the one I'm going to watch on the main TV. The ladder, though.
The ladder.
If you're crazy, which we kind of are.
Yeah, a little bit.
Why not go Bryce Young 200 plus with T-Mac 60 plus? That's even money. I mean, that's not that crazy. They're playing the Cowboys. Bryce Young stinks. He's terrible. So that's the crazy part of this. But even he is not that bad. Like 200 yards. I mean, I guess the Cowboys, though. We're not talking about a regular NFL team. We're talking about the team who's given up more passing yards than literally anyone. I think they're probably going to end up setting the record for most yards allowed through the air. So that's something fun to look forward to. But just last week, speaking of quarterbacks that stink, Justin Fields, 283. Week before that, Jordan Love, 337. Week before that, Caleb Williams, 298. Week before that, Russell Wilson, 450. Russell Wilson's not even an NFL quarterback anymore. I mean, he only comes in when people get hurt. Like, that's it. All right. And they pulled him out. They're probably going to get in trouble for what they did with Dart, too, because apparently he already had a concussion. And they're looking into that. I don't know if you guys saw that, but that's how bad they wanted to get Wilson out of there. They'll take whatever punishment they get just to not have Wilson play quarterback. Well, that Wilson, 450 against this team, against the Cowboys. So the idea that Bryce Young isn't even half as good as Russell Wilson is crazy. He's half as good, maybe a little bit more.
So it was 200 plus passing for Bryce, 60 receiving yards for McMillan. And that gives us, what was the number on that?
Even money. It was plus 101. We'll call it even money.
Yeah.
They can keep the other extra cent.
That sounds pretty good, Danny.
Yeah, I was looking at some Ted McMillan props earlier today over 4.5 receptions, but that thing is so juiced up that I ended up staying away. But this is another great way to approach it. I mean, I like that. Yeah, I mean, if Bryce Young cannot pass for 200 passing yards against this insanely inferior Cowboy secondary Slop alluded to, then what the hell are we doing? I know he's already at the bottom of the barrel, but this is the time to do it. And Ted's clearly his favorite target, and his usage is just increasing seemingly week after week.
If Bryce throws for 200 yards, there's no chance T-Mac doesn't have 60 of them.
Right.
That he would probably have like 140 of them, but But no, I see the chat. They're saying they run the ball a lot. Like, they're not going to if they get behind. Like, it's a game script play more than anything. Yeah. And that's just how it works out in the NFL. Like, once you get behind, you got to kind of throw to get back in. And I'm guessing they're going to have success. Like I said, 200 yards is just not a lot, dude.
Mm-hmm. John Hyslop, again, Slop Rules on Twitter, joins us on the program a couple of days a week. He is a guest analyst contributor here to the Betting News Network. And Slop, we appreciate you, man. We'll be keeping an eye on that Panthers game. Good news is you've given us a reason to watch. Most people would not be too tuned into Cowboys-Panthers. Like, let's check out the highlights on Red Zone, that sort of thing. We'll still,
maybe
keep you updated. But now we got to be locked in. We're chasing a ladder to climb.
Mm-hmm. Oh, you got to. You have to. You don't have a choice at this point.
All right, Slop, get yourself out of here, but we appreciate
it, Slop.
Later, guys. Have a great day. We'll talk to you next week.
You as well.
Good.
Got to get him out to Chicago, get part of the meetup. Garrett, who has been very active in the chat, says Panthers win if Bryce throws for 200 yards. I'll be curious if you, Danny, feel that same way when we get to that game. But let's see. We're going to start with the London contest. And let me get my phone ready here so that we can usually SPJ is on the timer. He's not here hanging out with us today. And so we're going to do some of this here. I think just because there's two of us, we could probably, we'll do it as it goes. We're not going to force extra time, but I think as far as cutting ourselves off, 3 minutes is probably safe.
Yeah, that should be good.
We make our way through all these things. All right. Here we go. All right, Broncos at the Jets. London, back-to-back week, 9:30 a.m. Eastern start. Denver, -7 to -8. That range up from -6.5 on the look ahead. The total has climbed just a point, 43.5 from 42.5. Broncos, 4-1 to the under this year, whereas the Jets are 4-1 to the over. Just something to mix into your handicap. Bo Nix, 6-0 straight up, 5-1 against the spread, as a favorite of at least 6 points. Now, this Broncos team, Danny, comes in with 2 straight wins. First game in international play, London specifically, in about 15 years, 2010. Bo Nix, he rallied the Broncos from down 14 to beat the Eagles last week, handing them their first loss before last night's second loss to the Giants, as we know. Much easier matchup this time around. Bad secondary. And, Dak Prescott had his way with the Jets very recently here. It's a great spot for J.K. Dobbins as a rusher. As far as the Jets go, Patrick Surtain really should blanket or limit Garrett Wilson. It's not a great matchup rushing for Breece Hall either. Not to say he couldn't be active as a pass catcher. We will see. Broncos have the league's top pass rush. Justin Fields is going to be forced to get out of the pocket more frequently, you would think. This is a team that gets penalized regularly, a lot of self-inflicted mistakes. I'd be comfortable with the Broncos as a survivor play, money line parlay, that sort of thing. I certainly like Denver to win. I don't know that I'm comfortable covering a touchdown plus.
Yeah, here's I agree with you in general. The unique thing, and I know you list trends, and a lot of people love them, and I always say I'm not the biggest trends guy, but where trends do tend to be your friend is overseas, where favorites typically thrive. They're 37-14-1 straight up, which I agree, goes in line with, money line parlay type of approach to it. They're 33-19 against the spread. Favorites of field goal or more, 27-9-1 straight up, 23-14 ATS. It is one that I certainly pay attention to a bit more. I wrote up about this game. I talked about utilizing Denver in a teaser spot. I think they're around 7 at that point, but even 6.5. I know it's not your traditional 6-point teaser crossing both the key numbers of 7 and 3, but I would consider it in that spot as well. Aaron Glenn has been atrocious for a defensive guy. This Jets defense, 31st in points allowed per game, 29th in EPA per play allowed, 26th in yards per play allowed at 5.7. They're dead last in dropback EPA. I was originally going to lean with some Bo Nix props here, Adam. But then I figured, again, if this defense is as bad as we think they are, then it's probably going to boost up more so a guy, as you mentioned, J.K. Dobbins. So last night, it was 64.5 -115. There's still one outlet that had that this morning. That's what I took for J.K. Dobbins over his rushing yard, 64.5 to the over, -115. Jets allowing 4.5 yards per carry. And really, teams don't need to throw against New York. They're only getting about 18 completions against them per game. You look at some of these other running backs. Javonte Williams, 16 carries, 135 yards. Achane, 99 yards. Bucky Irving, 66. Cook went 132. I'd be shocked if we don't see like 75 plus from J.K. Dobbins in this game, who's averaging 15 carries, 5.2 yards per rush attempt, 80 rushing yards a game. Come on, is a great spot for J.K. Dobbins.
We went long, but you were on a heater. I didn't want to interrupt. Plus, you were giving out the show play with J.K. Dobbins. Quite all right. I didn't give you as much time as I would have wanted to either. Jets, by the way, if I didn't mention it, 0-5. So that desperation for the first win is on the way. Okay, let's go stateside. Cowboys at the Panthers. Carolina 2-3, but 2-0 at home this year, Danny. Cowboys at 2-2. Dallas is a 3.5 point favorite, up from 1.5. The total has climbed to 49.5 from 46.5 on the look ahead. Both these teams 3-2 to the over. Cowboys, they scored at will against the Jets, despite a depleted offensive line in front of Dak Prescott, and while missing CeeDee Lamb, who remains out. George Pickens, Jake Ferguson, they should be able to exploit a bad defense. Javonte Williams excellent spot for him. Terrible run defense on the other side for Carolina. We have a Rico Dowdle revenge game with Chuba Hubbard sidelined, facing, again, another bad run defense. Dowdle went for 200 rushing against the Dolphins last week. It's just a Cowboys bad defense in general, as we were just talking about with Slop. I can understand people taking Carolina with the points. I can't get there, nor can I get there with Dallas to cover. I think that Dallas wins this game. I don't have real conviction in it, though. That's just the way I would play it if I were to play it.
Yeah, it's hard to disagree, Adam. I mean, Dallas, at the end of the day, it's like these teams are both just a nightmare. And on the defensive side, both brutal. Dallas is even worse. Then it comes down to, all right, which quarterback do you want to trust here? And for me, and I'm sure you, obviously, that's going to be Dak Prescott. So that's why I do tend to lean toward Dallas, but laying 3 or more with them in the road against whoever it may be is not enough to warrant an official play here. It seems like the safest bet and the obvious one would be to just take the over, right? I mean, I know it's adjusted pretty heavily around that 49.5 spot, but I'd be shocked if it ends up being a lower scoring affair between these two crap defenses.
Rico Dowdle over 76.5 rushing yards is an official show play, though, from SPJ, just so people are aware. And, hey, we made up the time that we missed on the first game right there in that one, which I think for Cowboys-Panthers is fairly appropriate, actually. So, well, this one might fit into that same mix here. Let me pull up my notes. Browns at the Steelers. Pittsburgh 3-1, 1-1 at home. Browns 0-2 on the road, 1-4 overall. As we know, there has been a change of late. Joe Flacco traded away to the Bengals. We will get there because he's starting for them right away. Dylan Gabriel is the starter. Shedeur Sanders is the backup. That was just announced in the last few minutes. Gabriel, mediocre first NFL start overseas against the Vikings. The Steelers, less of a challenge probably defensively. Quinshon Judkins, terrific matchup, looks to continue his hot play. The Steelers coming off their bye. They've won a couple in a row. Jaylen Warren, Kenneth Gainwell, not much of a challenge against a stout run defense. Aaron Rodgers not well protected, so Myles Garrett should be able to find him. Cleveland's 3-2 to the under. Pittsburgh 3-1 to the over. People love the Steelers this week. A lot of people are betting Pittsburgh to cover. I can't quite get there, especially as the line has climbed from 4.5 up to 5.5, even 6.5 in some places. But I would throw Pittsburgh again in a money line parlay situation. I like Pitt to win here. What about you?
Yeah, this was another game that I wrote up about, and I do feel pretty good about Pittsburgh in this spot, but what ended up holding me back, Adam, and much like when we talk about a team, say like the Kansas City Chiefs, the Eagles, they win, but they don't win by margin, and that's just kind of how Aaron Rodgers is right now. Now, Dylan Gabriel, as much as he had his team in contention, he actually graded out as one of the worst quarterbacks last week. Among 28 qualifiers, last in success rate, second worst in both CPOE, and in just completion percentage in general. And then he was 26 in adjusted EPA per play. Look, tough spot for him. Coaches put him overseas against a good defense. So all I'm saying is, even though they're in a position to win, it's not as good as he was or could be at least right now. I considered him over his passing attempts because a lot of quarterbacks have been throwing religiously against the Steelers. If it was under 30 in the hook, but it's right there at 30 in the hook. So now it's just a lean to the over, not an official play. But I didn't mind that. That would have been my favorite play to go with here. And yeah, I do think the Steelers win, but it just feels really dicey to try to lay anything over 3 with them, Adam.
Yeah, and that 37.5 to 38.5, down from 42 as far as the total. It has moved a lot, obviously, so you've certainly missed the value. We have Matty Ice Bets in the chat, says Browns +6. One of my favorite plays this weekend. The AFC North is always close. Crazy Pellet says Gabriel under passing yards and also thinks Sanders might actually sneak into this game. I mean, he's going to start at some point. I'm sure of that. I don't know that he's going to play this weekend, though. I think this would happen. Remember, the Browns are a frisky team. Like I guess a lot of that was with Flacco, although I won't attribute it to Flacco. It was the Browns defense, but there were some close games that the Browns have found themselves in here so far this year. Okay.
Yeah, and really quick, just to add to that, I was going to say, like, if for anybody, Matty I Spence was saying Browns +6. I think the path to them covering that, as it's been for other games where they've been close, is their defense, right? And Rodgers has been nothing of what we've seen from him in the past, which we would expect off of the major injury a couple of years ago, and being as old as he is. He's 27th in success rate, and they want to try to run the ball. I mean, he's only completed more than 18 passes, I think, once this season. So then you're going to be forced to get Jaylen Warren going, a pretty average running back against a stout run defense. Yeah, lower scoring makes sense, closer game makes sense, but Steelers grind it out in an ugly way.
About 1,000 watching Twitter, YouTube, Twitch. Thanks for hanging out with us across BNN, the Betting News Network. Danny, Adam, hanging out. SPJ is missed. He's in Chicago for the big meetup this weekend. If you're in the area, be it living there, take a drive, whatever it is, head out, hang out with the crew. Danny will be part of it as well. Should be a lot of fun. I am jealous to miss it, but I will be on my couch watching football, be it college and pro. Okay, team that I will be cheering on, and this is an official show play. I'm going to take the Patriots at -3.5. That has moved from 3, which I don't love just because we don't have the field goal protection, but Patriots at the Saints. Saints, they're an interesting team, man. One-score losses to the Cardinals, the Niners, blown out by the Cardinals, by the Seahawks. The Bills, they ultimately was a 2-score loss, but they were in it. I mean, they led in the fourth quarter of that game. Meanwhile, the Giants, who, again, they have their lone win against, is just a strange team also that, has again, lost to the Saints, but it's beaten the Eagles, the Chargers. So we say any given wager, any given Sunday, all of it. We know where it all comes from, obviously. Pats, meanwhile, 2 straight wins, fresh off that big primetime victory in Buffalo. I just don't think, and I think the Patriots would say as much here, Danny, I don't think the Patriots are good enough to fall into the whole, it's a trap game, it's a letdown spot. Like, Patriots are 3-2. They have a second-year quarterback who's, really only started for a year. A first-year head coach, not in the league, but with the team, in Mike Vrabel. Not a ton of talent, even though Stephon Diggs is looking like a number 1 wide receiver again with Drake May. And, we'll see if Christian Gonzalez even plays in this game due to the hamstring issue that he's dealing with once again. I just think the Patriots are aware of where they are in their rebuild, and they have we've talked about it, very favorable schedule in front of them that honestly could take them all the way to like 9-3, 10-3, something like that around their bye. I mean, it's that light a schedule coming up as they sit here at 3-2, but the Saints are one of those wins that you circle. And I don't worry about them going to New Orleans against Spencer Rattler and a banged up Alvin Kamara and that terrible defense and saying, I don't know if they're going to pull this one out. If they're who they want us to believe they are, and I say this as a New Englander, you better win this game and win it comfortably. Yeah. So the fact that, we're getting 3.5, like I could, if the Patriots play the way they did against the Bills, for instance, and not the way they played against the Steelers when they turned the ball over 5 times, then Patriots could win this game by 14 points. So yes, New England -3.5 for me.
So I was looking at this game and I was like, man, Adam is for sure going to be back in the Patriots, but I was kind of hoping you weren't, because I am terrified for New England in this spot, because it seems like you're buying very high on New England based off of what we saw last week. But
I've been doing it all season.
Yeah, well, fair enough. But to counter a little bit, the Saints got a little bit of mojo after their win, right? A very impressive outing from themselves after a Giants team that looked like they were getting hot. And the Saints have a much better defense than New England and a better defense than Buffalo when you look at a lot of these metrics. So the fact that now with New England, after, a big win, everybody witnessed it on primetime, going on the road against a better defense, a defense that keeps them in the game, and you're laying over the key number of 3, it scares me. And I'm not going to use tracking like you said. I wouldn't say that. I just think it's a difficult spot, and the price isn't worth the admission right now. But you said it like if New England is the team that they should be on the path to being correct, they should cover this. They should win comfortably. But I'm not completely convinced they're there quite yet. They got to show us who they are in this game.
We went long. I probably went 3 minutes before I even handed it off to you. So, again, I will own that. You know what? Does Diggs finally find the end zone, Adam? I don't know if it happens this week, but it's coming. I promise you it's coming because, again, last week in the whole revenge narrative, I can't believe I didn't make it a show play. Like, that's just shame on me. I should have leaned into it because I certainly believed it. But Stephon Diggs, with that now has consecutive 100-plus yards receiving games. It's clear that, along with Hunter Henry, but more so Diggs, Henry being a tight end, that Drake May, the number one target, is Diggs. He is leaning into the veteran presence. And not only that, the ability. And I'm shocked, genuinely shocked, at what Stephon Diggs is doing out there on the field, this closely removed from ACL surgery. Yeah. I mean, that blows my mind. It's not like he's going out there and performing like vintage himself or Justin Jefferson or Jamar Chase or something like that. But again, dude's not even a year removed from a torn ACL, and he's out there with consecutive 100-yard receiving games. That's just, it's nuts. So whether the end zone happens this week for him or not, I'm not going to invest in that, but I can promise you it is coming. So let us go to Chargers Dolphins. Chargers at 3-2 off of 2 straight losses. They burned me both times. The Dolphins 1-4 with a quarterback who basically has said in the media he doesn't care how he plays because his kids are still going to love him when he gets home. LA is a 3.5 to 4.5 point favorite from 2.5. Part of that, certainly not about the Chargers play. It's about how bad the Dolphins have been. Total has dipped just a bit from 45.5 to 43.5, as you see on the screen. The Chargers, they blew a 10-0 lead last week. I know 10-0 is not a lot, but it looked like they were in control of the Commanders, who didn't have Terry McLaurin. Jaden Daniels did enough, though. They lost multiple penalties without big gains, or with big gains that were wiped out. Dolphins, weak pass rush, bad defense overall, terrible secondary. Justin Herbert should be able to overcome some of the injuries across that offensive line and be okay. Amari and Hampton, just to note, injured, not going to play. So you got a tandem of no-name backups here. I don't know what they're going to do, but it is a bad run defense. So this is where my theory that I always talk about, that running backs are so readily replaceable. You could just bring a guy in off the street, put him in the right matchup with a decent O-line and have a great game. It's not a great O-line situation, but it is a good matchup. So we'll see if Vidal or Haskins, whoever it is, winds up having a solid performance. On the Dolphins side, I do think, Slop was with us earlier talking about Darren Waller. Curious if Tua continues to lean into him the way he basically did Jonnu Smith last year. Looks like it in the early returns. Then you have Jalen Waddle, obviously, as well. Mediocre run defense, so Devon Achane is in a good situation here. Even still, I like the Chargers. I don't know that I would take them to cover. I'm thinking, I'll let people know if I officially go there. Kind of thinking a money line parlay situation where I take the Chargers and I put them with somebody else. I'm just trying to decide who that'll be. But I do like LA to bounce back. And we'll see if they can burn me for a third straight week.
Man, I am scared to lay any points with the Chargers on the road here. Again, it continues to be a tough schedule. We've talked about it ad nauseum, but starting with the tough spot on the East Coast with the Giants after being international, primetime, 3 straight division games. Then you lose in a disgusting classic Chargers fashion last week. Now you got to go back east to take on a desperate Miami team. Look, with that being said, as much as I wouldn't want to lay with the Chargers, I am taking them over 23.5 total points. Minus $130. Wrote up about this earlier in the week. If you get it under 24, I believe that's a go here. Look, the Dolphins are giving up 29 points per game. Every opponent outside of the Jets has put up at least 27 against them. Heck, they gave up 206 rushing yards to Rico freaking Dowdle last week. You nailed it. It's the most replaceable position is the running back. They'll be fine. They'll find a way, and that will allow opening up the ground attack, allow Herbert to get comfortable and pass more efficiently and not have to worry and feel all this pressure like we've seen in the last 2 losses that they've endured. Miami 29th in rush EPA per play, 27th rush success rate allowed, 5.6 yards per carry is what they're giving up. Yeah, I mean, if the Chargers can't put up 24 against this lowly Dolphins defense, Adam, I mean, what the hell are we doing? It's going to be big danger time for the Chargers if they can't do that. And then, like you're thinking, win. So, big on the Chargers offense this week.
All right, we hit the buzzer with that. So we move Cardinals, Colts. I know a game that you are invested in, and I just might be as well. Cards 2-3. They have had 3 straight losses, burned on this show because of freaking Amari DiMercato just, jaywalking his way into the end zone and dropping the ball. And, back-to-back weeks. First it was A.D. Mitchell, and now obviously DiMercato, but blew what should have been a 28-6 fourth quarter lead, outscored in the second half in general, 16-0, fell to the Titans of all teams, SPJ's Titans. He would probably blush if he were here to hang out and talk about him. So the backfield continues to be a problem with DiMercato and Michael Carter, with James Conner and Trey Benson obviously out. Kyler Murray's banged up, might not even play, but did return to practice today. So that should at least indicate that he will. Otherwise, it'll be Jacoby Brissett. We will find out. Either one should, in theory, be able to find Marvin Harrison Jr. and Trey McBride. The Colts, though, are the heavy favorites at 6.5 to 7.5. A look-ahead spot was actually Indianapolis plus 1.5. Goes to show how much has changed for both of these teams. Total has stayed consistent, 47.5. Colts have outscored their opponents by at least they basically doubled them up. It's 163 to 89. Jonathan Taylor has been excellent. He's in the Offensive Player of the Year conversation. He's near the top of the odds board. We know how good he's been. Tyler Warren, the rookie, who is in the Offensive Rookie of the Year conversation. I don't think he'll win it, but he's in the conversation. He is in a good spot in that the Cards are weak to the tight end position. So does he get more of a look versus, say, Michael Pittman Jr., that type of thing? We'll see. Indy is 4-1 against the spread. I don't know that I quite want to go there, Danny.
No, yeah, it's a healthy amount of points, and it's just like you're piling on after a disastrous performance from Arizona. It seems like the obvious choice, and you know what? Maybe it is, but I'm playing it a little safer, and I'm going to be teasing them down and pairing them with Detroit going against Kansas City. So going Detroit from plus 2.5 to plus 8.5 on a 6-point teaser. Indianapolis from -7 in the hook down to -1 in the hook, -125. Best teaser price I found available. I will say, I won't go too deep into it outside of the fact that if I could potentially compare something as disastrous of a loss as it was last week, and it was one of the worst we've ever seen, Adam.
Oh, arguably the worst Survivor beat of all time.
For sure. And just like the overall worst NFL performance and just from everything that happened. It's reminiscent of when the Bears, and I hate to bring this up because it gives me PTSD, when the Bears lost to the Commanders on the Hail Mary last year, and then everything went to crap, right? The next game, they got blown out by the Cardinals 29-9. It was the beginning of a 10-game losing streak. That could be the reason to where it's a dumpster fire at this point, right? Gannon knows his seat's getting warm. Murray's struggling. DeMarcado, the running back, it's all over the place. So that's going to be a big part in the mental psyche of this team, and that's not going to help them. So that would be the reason why I could justify laying that many points with the Colts outside how great they've looked. But again, I feel a lot safer in that key teaser number area of 7.5, bringing them down to -1 in the hook and pairing them with Detroit.
You know what says, do not remind me, please. Enough with your nonsense here. I'm just looking at it. I think I found what I'm going to do with that Chargers game because I was thinking about Indy. You're already in Indy with the teaser. I don't want to double down on Indy, even though I do believe the Colts are going to win. I agree with that. But I told you I'm going to use the Chargers, and I don't want to lay the points. So I'm going to put them in a money line parlay, a little two-legger, with the next game we're going to talk about, the LA Rams. And I am seeing that at -109, official show play. Chargers, Rams, money line parlay at -109. So just to tell you a little bit more about this spot, you see some of the numbers on the screen. The Rams come in 3-2. They have the Ravens have 3 straight losses at their 1-4. LA, 7.5-point favorite. Once upon a time, 5.5-point dogs. That's because the Rams are really good and the Ravens very banged up and likely will not have Lamar Jackson once again, which means Cooper Rush will be back out there. He was dominated by a Texans pass rush last week. Mistakes, turnovers, just a mess of a situation. And the Rams bring a similarly dominant defense, another excellent pass rush. It's a bad rushing matchup for Derrick Henry, who's honestly just been bad this year in general since week 1 anyway. Ravens, they're a train wreck on both sides of the ball with all those injuries, especially defensively. But again, the Lamar Jackson component makes things very poor offensively. And the Rams, they continue to be loaded with talent. Again, injuries on the Ravens side, plus you have Matt Stafford, who's going to lean on Puka Nacua and Devontae Adams. Sean McVay always has his teams prepared for these spots. 10-6 against the spread in 1 p.m. East Coast kickoffs. Total in this game has dropped, which shocks me. 44.5 to 45.5, down from 48.5. I am very tempted to play the over in this game because the Ravens, I just think that little of this Ravens defense, and I generally think that highly of the Rams offense. But again, I don't know that I want to lay outside of a touchdown with that 7.5. So I will do the money line parlay situation once again. Chargers, Rams together.
Yeah, I definitely don't want any part of laying over 7 with the Rams right now. I mean, it's been a tough scheduling situation for them. And look, we thought they were in a pristine spot, short week, Thursday night against an incredibly banged up 49ers team, but that wasn't the case. I did write up about this game, and this is why we implore you to check out bettingnews.com and see our write ups, because this is the play I gave out, I think, on Tuesday, maybe Wednesday, whatever it was. Kyron Williams over 65.5 rushing yards. That's moved like 10 yards to the over. So I do think he honestly gets around like 85 to 90 yards. So if you feel comfortable going more than that or want to lay minus about 50 or so for any time touchdown, so be it. But look, Kyron set up for a beautiful game. And he had a great game last week outside of the fumble on the 1 yard line. So you need a little bit of a better get back spot for him as well. I mean, he was averaging 4.6 yards per carry in that game. I had 2 touchdowns throughout the air. But Baltimore, I mean, you mentioned it. This defense, like, what the hell happened? They're disgusting. I mean, they're third or they're dead last rather in rush EPA, 31st in rush success rate allowed, giving up almost 6 yards per carry. I would be shocked if Kyron Williams does not have another top tier game in this matchup. And again, if it goes in line with where the spread is, more running opportunities for Kyron and Blake Corum. If you like Blake Corum props too, because you like the Rams to cover, I think that's probably a better discount you could get with the running backs, but all over Williams in this matchup, Adam.
Brings us to Seahawks Jaguars, and spoiler alert, we have our first and only group play of this show, and I will let Danny explain it. But to tell you about the matchup, Seattle 3-2, 2-0 on the road. Jaguars 4-1, 3-0 at home, coming off of that rather shocking win over the Chiefs. In my mind, I surprising at the very least. I did not see that comeback happening. Trevor Lawrence did almost all he could to give that game away before winning it on the final drive, including falling on his face, and nobody touched him, and he got up and he ran the ball in to the end zone for the winning score. Stupid. Seahawks stout against the run, should limit Travis Etienne. As far as the Hawks go, Kenneth Walker, Zach Charbonnet, good rushing matchup for them. Sam Darnold, he'll have Jackson Smith and Jigba, who, by the way, SPJ, you will be floored to know that he is on him again. JSN over 75.5 receiving yards at -115, an official show play from one Daniel Collins. But in terms of how to invest in this game, Danny, which again, it's kind of down the middle. I mean, Jacksonville is 1 point favorite in some places, 1.5 point dog in other places. You know, we've got some real movement here. The total 47.5 up from the look ahead of 46.5.
Yeah, so what we're investing with, I can just pull this up right here. SPJ, myself, Seahawks money line -110. Another game where I wrote up about. And look, it's kind of your classic. Everybody's going to be ready to buy high on Jacksonville after a primetime win against Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs. Seattle lost against a banged up Tampa Bay Bucks team at home, 38-35. They remember Darnold throwing a costly interception. But you look at these numbers. Let's talk about Jacksonville. What do they want to do? They want to run the ball with ETN. I mean, yes, Lawrence was, good enough in the spot to throw it to Brian Thomas Jr. in that clutch pass. Before that, everybody was ready to rip his head off for taking one of the worst sacks we've seen this season. And he was awful the whole game. I mean, he was refusing to throw to open players, incredibly lucky in the red zone, as you mentioned. He's not been good. That's just what it is. He's 30th in completion percentage over expected, 19th in EPA per play, 18th in success rate among 32 quarterbacks this season. Guess what? Darnold is number 1 in all of those categories. Jacksonville's defense has been great. They do have a +8 turnover differential, but it's not really sustainable when your quarterback play is mediocre. Now, Kenneth Walker and Charbonnet as well can take advantage of this Jacksonville defense. That's 24th in rush EPA, giving up 4.6 yards per carry. That's how you control possession. That's how you limit a potential turnover from Sam Darnold. And I was talking about ETN against the Seahawks defense. They want to work through him, but Seattle's limiting opponents to just 3.3 yards per carry. They rank 3rd in rush EPA per play. Man, I think you got to sell on this Jags team, and you're buying low with Seattle here, who metrically is a much better team and honestly may have the better quarterback right now. As insane as that is to say, the numbers back it up. And the eye test honestly backs it up too. Outside of that interception last week, Adam, Darnold was outstanding. He had like 4 touchdowns, and then it was the one costly pick. But I think the Seahawks are the better team here, and clearly so does SPJ.
Yeah, and I inclined to agree with you both as well. It's not something I would make show official, but doesn't matter. Group play. And so I like that both you guys like it, and it is who ultimately I expect to win this game. But I understand why it's, kind of a coin flip situation. Let's go to SPJ's Titans at the Raiders. Now, I'll just tell you, I think the Raiders are going to win this game. I will also tell you that SPJ is show official Titans plus 4.5 because of course he is. This 1-4 team coming off a win, a rare win, obviously. Raiders don't pressure particularly well. They have Max Crosby, so he should be able to get to Cam Ward, but it was sacked at a very high rate as well. But, we'll see because they don't do a whole lot else defensively. And the Raiders, or Tony Pollard, Tajay Spears, I'm just looking at some of the metrics here. The Raiders are good against the run. I will give them that. So Pollard's a great spot for him. Raiders 4 straight losses, blown out by the Colts last time, 40-6. Geno Smith taking out a bad secondary. Ashton Genty, he went off against the Bears when he saw them and their run, poor run defense, Danny. I only bring it up because it's kind of a comparably bad bottom 10 run defense that he's seeing here from Tennessee. So, again, I know we're showing it on the screen. SPJ is show official with the plus 4.5 on the Titans. Raiders, again, I just think they're going to win. And look, two things, we could thread the needle. Two things can be true. Right. It could be a Raiders 3-point win or something like that. I agree with the sentiment of I wouldn't want to lay it with Vegas, 3.5 to 4.5, depending on where you look. It used to be 3, but it's climbed a bit. The total 41.5 down from 44.5. Man, I don't know. I'm rambling on this one. I'll let you go. But this is just kind of, for me, this is a game that I would just rather kind of pretend doesn't exist.
Yeah, I agree with you here, Adam. I mean, again, it's almost like a classic scenario where you look at the Titans in a miraculous win, and now people go, wait, they're catching this many points against the Raiders who are just awful this season. But if the Titans don't win last week, I think we're having a different conversation with much of the public narrative in this game. The Titans are still one of, if not the worst team in the National Football League, with one of the worst coaches. The Raiders have talent on their team because Geno Smith has been playing so brutally. You can only imagine he goes up from here, especially against one of the worst defenses. I was very close to pulling trigger here on the Raiders, and I was almost like, how is SPJ taking the Titans, his own team? He's like fallen victim for it after we've been bashing him all year. And it's like, oh, they get the one win. And now, so it's kind of like that scenario where, again, I'm not playing anything, so I'm rooting for him. But I agree with you, man. I think I would be on the Raiders or nothing here. It just seems like a perfect buy low spot for them at an adjusted again, if they maybe beat the Bears, they kick that field goal in, right? And the Titans lose the game they're supposed to. The Raiders could be probably 6-point favorites, 6.5-point favorites in this game.
Honestly, I'm just grateful this game isn't like an island primetime game that we're forced to talk about and watch. It's just going to blend in with everything else on Red Zone that day. Niners, Bucks, couple of 4-1 teams here, Danny. 3-0 the Niners on the road. Bucks are 1-1 at home, and we know they could be 0-5. They could be 5-0 the way that they have pulled wins out of their ass this year. Tampa's a 3.5-point favorite in this game, up from 1.5. Total is down just a bit, 48.5 to 47.5. Now, big part of this handicap that we are having trouble providing is that we don't have all the injury news. The Niners, as of right now, don't know. Correct me if I'm wrong, if I missed something. They don't know if Brock Purdy, Ricky Pearsall, or Juwan Jennings, who all sat out against the Rams, are going to be available in this game. Mac Jones led the way last time out in that Thursday comeback win with help from Kendrick Bourne, Jake Tongas, Christian McCaffrey, obviously. There's still no George Kittle. He's out until week 7, so he'll be back soon, but not yet. McCaffrey is facing one of the top run defenses, which rarely allows more than 50 yards to any singular back, and there are some prominent names on there, not just the Rico Dowdles of the world. He could be impactful as a pass catcher. We'll see. The Buccaneers, Niners don't bring a lot of pressure without Nick Bosa, who, as we know, is done for the season. They're only averaging 16 per game. Baker Mayfield, again, has shown the ability, despite, injuries along the O-line, to score. They rallied to beat the Seahawks. Another rally, final minutes, 38-35, high-scoring game last week. It's a great opportunity, great spot for Emeka Egbuka. Don't expect to see Bucky Irving once again, so it's Rashad White, who's not a real rushing threat. Kyle Shanahan, though, does prepare. We were talking about, like, some of the guys that do this well. Pete Carroll, Jim Harbaugh, Sean McVay. Shanahan is 9-6 against the spread in 1 p.m. East Coast kickoffs. I don't want to invest in this as a show, but here's what I will tell you. In my pick'em pools where, you don't need to worry about the spread and it's just who's going to win the game, maybe I'm nuts, Danny. As of right now, and I reserve the right to change my mind because we need some news, I'm going with the Niners. I think the Niners are going to have the upset and win this game on the road, despite Tampa being a 3.5 point favorite. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, at 3, I would take it with the Niners. Under that, just because of this Bucs team proving me wrong with how gritty they are, despite what the numbers are telling us and how fortunate they are. They have like an average winning margin of like 2.3 this season. It is not sustainable. And Bucky Irving's out. Mike Evans out. Chris Godwin is still out. Abuka's been outstanding. Cade Otton stepped up last week. Can they do it again, traveling back and forth across the country? We'll have to wait and see. But yeah, I haven't seen anything from the 49ers, but it looked like the indications are it's going to be Mac Jones again. You're missing Kittle, as you mentioned. Juwan Jennings, Ricky Pearsall, they weren't practicing, I think, on Wednesday and Thursday. So I'm going in with the expectation that they're still missing a plethora of those guys. So the way that I took it, I did Christian McCaffrey over 48.5 receiving yards. Tampa Bay secondary major liability, 31st in dropback EPA, 27th. In EPA, 31st in dropback success rate, 27th in EPA per pass play allowed. Bucks are giving up the 3rd most receiving yards to opposing tailbacks, 51.4 per game. Christian McCaffrey's already a big part of this receiving scheme, even with those guys in the mix. But he's averaging 10 targets, 8 receptions for 77 receiving yards per game. How is he not going to be exploiting this weak Tampa Bay defense yet again, especially with those guys gone? So this is going to be a reliable option, as he always is. He's been way more impactful in the passing game than he has been on the ground. So I love this spot for CMC over 48.5 receiving yards.
All right, which brings us to Bengals-Packers. Interesting game here, right? Isn't that the next one? Yeah, Bengals-Packers. So Cincinnati is 2-3, has a new starting quarterback. After 3 straight losses and 8 interceptions and not even 4 complete games for Jake Browning, Bengals have gone out and acquired in division Joe Flacco, who walked through the door and was named the starter. That's how pathetic this situation in Cincinnati is. Now, he only faced this team, Green Bay, a couple weeks back in a low-scoring upset win that we will remember screwed up a lot of survivor entries and formal plays and money line pool, all that stuff, everything. Flacco's going to see pressure from Micah Parsons, but again, low-scoring game. Now, a lot of that was credit to the Browns' defense, limiting Green Bay. The Bengals' defense is not going to do that. So Flacco, I wouldn't look favorably upon that previous outing. Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, excellent downfield threats, although Chase appears to be a bit banged up. As far as the Packers, biggest favorite in a game, I was reading this, for Green Bay since 2012. Wow. Failing to cover a 16-point margin in a 24-15 win against the Jaguars. That's courtesy of the Action Network. Green Bay in this one, pretty close, 14.5 point favorite from -3 at look ahead because of obviously a lack of Joe Burrow and just how bad this defense is. But that is an astounding amount of points moved. Over-under is 44.5, down from 48.5. I could see an over in this one simply because, poor defense on that Cincy side. Jordan Love, he's not going to get a whole lot of resistance. Bad defense on the other side. Tucker Kraft, interesting spot. I saw people talking about Kraft in the chat earlier. Defense, it's weak to tight ends. Josh Jacobs, favorable matchup for him. So, look, I fully, like everyone else, expect Green Bay to win this game. There is a part of me, the slimmest of part of me's, like a baby toe on my body, that is scared of going with Green Bay in Survivor because of the whole new team first game narrative, all that stuff, whatever fancy name there is for that narrative. Even still, I'm probably going to go with the quote-unquote safe route and take the Packers with my lone survivor entry. I will be curious where you're going, if you're going the same place or elsewhere, because I know you've got one left as well. But I do think Green Bay wins this game. I'm a little resistant to lay 2 touchdowns, however.
Yeah, I was literally thinking about this before the show. I was like, 1 entry left. I'm taking the Packers. Everybody is if you still got them left or any entries left. There's really not that many good spots for the Packers. Maybe one more. I forget which week it is. So this is definitely the best time to utilize. I mean, you're right. I mean, new quarterback, all this, that. At least with Flacco's situation, as old as he is, you know what you're getting with him. And yeah, I don't want to lay it. Nothing with the spread, but I am taking the Packers as a survivor choice. Don't have any plays in this game. The one I would maybe consider would be a buy low spot on Chase Brown, believe it or not. Look at the last 2 weeks, the run defense for Green Bay. They allowed Javonte Williams 20 carries, 85 yards. Judkins, 18 carries, 94 yards. Brown's at like 43.5, 45.5, somewhere there in the prop market. I think he could get 50 plus in this game. And it's not to say the Packers' run defense is now terrible, but they're obviously a bit more susceptible against a run. And you got to get Flacco a little acclimated there. It's not going to be too much of an adjustment, but you want to get uncomfortable. So I think Brown could have an impact early on and take advantage of that weaker part of the Packers defense.
Brings us to Sunday Night Football. Last game we're going to talk about. There's a Monday doubleheader, but we'll handle those on Monday's show. So Bills, Falcons, Bears, Commanders, you're going to have to wait on those thoughts. And I should mention, I normally mention this, bye week for the Vikings and Texans. Those two teams are not in action. You may be aware of that already. So Sunday Night Football, you're looking at the graphic. Lions 4-1, the Chiefs 2-3. Third loss this year, obviously last week in devastating fashion of those Jaguars, as we talked about. Interesting note, third loss last season for Kansas City didn't come until Super Bowl 59. Already 3 losses this year in 5 games. The Lions are a bit banged up in the secondary. Patrick Mahomes, though, I still question what he's working with offensively outside of Xavier Worthy, who, again, was a letdown in general and for us as a show last week. He's going to be under pressure, so he's going to be moving. Maybe we should just be looking at the over on rushing yards for Mahomes. Rashee Rice not back yet. One more absence for that suspension. The Lions, a top 5 run defense. Chiefs personnel questionable at best back there anyway. As far as Detroit, Jared Goff is going to see pressure from Chris Jones, but even still, I think he's going to be all right. Jahmyr Gibbs, David Montgomery, it's stout run defense. Kansas City is a 2.5 point favorite, down from 3 in this game at Arrowhead. Patrick Mahomes is 14-10 against the spread after a loss. The Chiefs, we've seen it. You know, I just want to highlight this. 11-0 in one-score games last year, 0-3 this year in one-score games. There's a happy medium there. Water, you would think, would find its level, but it never did last season. Maybe this year the other way, it doesn't. Right. The total has climbed, Danny, 52.5 to 53 from 48.5. You see it right there on the screen. It's kind of nuts. This is another spot where I'm not going to make it show official. I think the Lions actually win this game. Mm-hmm. I would invest in Detroit plus 2.5, and I'd sprinkle the money line on my own, but I'm not going to do it for the show.
No, for sure. I'm with you here. As I mentioned earlier, this is part of my teaser leg. The Chiefs, if they win, we know they do not win by margin. You just rattled off those stats. I mean, in one-score games, they thrived last year. Now it's coming back to reality, and it's flipping the other way around. But they do not win by margin. And Xavier Worthy did not practice yesterday. If he can't go, that is a monumental loss as we've witnessed for this Kansas City offense. And even with them, they've certainly struggled this season. Detroit kind of feels like they're on a mission now to prove everybody wrong. Like they got a chip on their shoulder. After that first loss of the year, losing both coordinators, they're doubted a tad bit, right? I mean, you know, the Packers were the hot team coming into it, and then they put a beating down of the Bears. They beat the Ravens. You know, they've got these impressive wins. So I agree with you. Even if Worthy's in, I still do like Detroit in this game. But again, a bit more security. I'm teasing them up here, plus 8 in the hook, pairing it with a tease down of the Colts to -1 in the hook. If Detroit can't keep this within 8 points, I would be appalled based on what we've seen from Kansas City, not only this year, but in years past. Yeah, I think Detroit probably wins this game outright, though, too. The Chiefs' defense has been poor, 23rd in both defensive EPA and success rate allowed. Detroit is the much better team right now.
Tukey says, Lions. Yes, we're in it. Just to catch up on a couple from Crazy Pellet in the chat before we wrap the show up. Did you have any thoughts on Flacco pass attempts in his first game as a Bengal?
You know, I certainly get, I mean, it's different, right? I mean, like Flacco was throwing a ton with the Browns, and we've seen him do that in that situation with Cleveland. With your backs against the wall, naturally, you think that's going to be the case. Just because of the new situation, you know, how early and often are they going to have him throwing? Because again, I kind of lean towards seeing more value with Chase Brown rushing out of the gates, and then eventually you'll get there with Joe Flacco throwing, but with new teammates still, it is a learning process. So you got to get the completions there in order to keep possession and tally up those attempts. So I personally would stay away. Again, it's one of those classic, as an underdog, I totally see that. But knowing how big of an underdog they are, knowing the slight more weaknesses with the run defense, I think they may emphasize that and let him get a bit more adjusted than just consistently slinging it right out of the gates. It's not saying I'm betting the over, of course, or the under, of course, pardon me, but I just don't see as much of an edge there per se.
Let's give out our official show plays. And I just want to share with people that, again, we keep track of all of this stuff. We don't necessarily, post it all, but we talk about it from time to time. We're not hiding from it. I opened the show by telling you as a trio, we're down freaking 25 units, whatever it is. So I'm not, sugarcoating what has gone on, and it ebbs and flows. Before this 3-show skid of bets that has cost us, quick math, about 12 units, which is gross. We had a 3-show streak of being green, so we need to turn it around, obviously. But I bring that up just to tell you that Danny, who I will let give all of his plays right here, and there are a handful of them, of the 3 of us so far, has been the most profitable bettor. So if you wanted to fade me, fade SPJ, even fade the group play, I don't want you to do it, but I'd forgive you if you just wanted to ride with Danny and go with the guy who is, at least among the 3 of us, the hottest hand.
All right. So regardless, it's still early. We got faith in the boys here. We got plenty of ways to go. I know you're going to bounce back here soon, Adam. We all will collectively. But yeah, the plays that I'm rocking with, and SPJ's on this one alongside me. We got the Seahawks money line minus $110 on the road against Jacksonville. Christian McCaffrey over 48.5 receiving yards against a weak Tampa Bay defense. 49ers banged up. CMC been way more valuable in the passing game. Mac Jones would feel comfortable with him. This line got out of hand from when I wrote about it, but I did Kyron Williams over 65.5 rushing yards. I think he gets about 80 plus in this game. The 6-point teaser, bringing down the Colts from 7 in the hook to -1 in the hook. And then the lines up to +8 in the hook against the Kansas City Chiefs, the game we just talked about. Chargers, I don't know if they're going to cover here, but I like them to get 24 plus points. I took them over their team total of 23.5 at -$130. And then J.K. Dobbins overseas and over 64.5 rushing yards against a horrible New York Jets defense and run defense. So that's what I'm rocking with, my friend.
Chef T is in the chat, says way to go, Danny. Also asks, Adam, are you at the stadium? I am not, sir. In fact, this is a picture. It's not a real background at all. I mean, look, there are people in the stands, man. Come on, there's no football game happening right now. But look, it looks that good, doesn't it? Chef T, let's wrap on Twitter. Hit me up over there, buddy. We'll get to know each other better. It's good to see you in the chat, and we look forward to hearing your plays for this football weekend. So Danny gave you all his, plus the group play with SPJ on the Seahawks money line. One Daniel, it feels weird to call him Daniel, given that it's just always Sweatpants Jesus. SPJ's plays are as follows. Jackson Smith and Jigba over 75.5 receiving yards at -115. Rico Dowdle over 76.5 rushing yards at -110. His Titans +4.5 at -110. And it will.
He actually had Calvin Ridley in that. That was his latest.
Yeah, I was just going to mention. I did not mention back during the Jaguars. Titans. Mm-hmm. Where's Ridley now? Where's he playing?
Yeah, Titans.
Titans. Yeah, Titans. Ridley is over 19.5 longest reception. So 20+ yard reception for Ridley, and that is a -110. We did not give that one out before, but that is a late addition from SPJ. For me, I'm giving you just 2 plays. Slow and steady wins the race, man. And I got to build back here. Patriots -3.5 at even money. So SPJ, his Titans, my Patriots, and Danny, we'll see if he has anything on the Bears when we get to Monday. Chargers, Rams, money line parlay, and that is -109. Again, Chargers, Rams, money line parlay, -109. Patriots -3.5. Would prefer the 3. If you want to lay a little juice and buy it down, buy the half point, I wouldn't blame you at all. But even money on the -3.5. Patriots, again, this is, for lack of a better way of putting it, kind of a prove it spot. Go out there and show us you are who I keep saying to everybody that they are. All right. So Beautiful. Just catching up in the chat, seeing if we missed anything. With right around 1,500 watching with us on Twitter, YouTube, and Twitch. So Danny and I, we're done. But what do we have on the menu for the rest of the day? I know it's not the same show schedule given all the action that's happening with Chicago and the meetup. And if anyone is in the Windy City, Danny lives there, but if anyone is in the area, that's where a whole bunch of the BNN Betting News Network talent has flocked to for the weekend for a big meetup with listeners, viewers, fans, just good time, good vibes, drinks, food, games, betting, all of it. If you're in the area or a short drive away, even a long drive away, do check it out. So Daddy wants to know if he's going to see you tonight.
I believe so. Yeah, most likely I will be out and about with the crew this evening. So Daddy, I'm sure we'll catch up then, my friend. Looking forward to it. And like you said, yeah, tomorrow, Country Club, Wrigleyville, 11:30 a.m. start time, free food, free drinks. Got a Cubs game to prepare for, even though it's a little bit more north than Wrigleyville up in Milwaukee. Hey, we still got our Cubbies to cheer for at least one more game.
Yeah, man, get after it. Update as we go from Ian Rappaport. Says Christian Watson will not play Sunday against the Bengals for the Packers. No real surprise there. Also, Andy Reid says Xavier Worthy was at practice today and, quote, moved around good. Seems like Worthy should be good.
He's just going to be on that list every single week now. It's going to be so annoying.
Yeah. It's the Tom Brady rule. Why is he on the injury report every week with his shoulder injury? He looks fine. Beautiful. All right. For Daniel Collins in spirit, for Danny Burke, I am Adam Kaufman. We thank all of you in the chat, outside of the chat, just watching along, hanging out with us. Hopefully we win some bets this weekend. We will be back with you on Monday, 1 p.m. Eastern, to preview the doubleheader, another double dip in the NFL for Monday Night Football. And hopefully we can hit some bets along the way first. We'll see you next time. Danny, thank you, sir.
Yes, sir. The blast is always. Best of luck to everybody. Enjoy the action this weekend. We'll see some of you out there at Country Club and beyond.
Enjoy the hang.
What you know about rolling down in the deep? Riding in the deep. Down in the deep. Now I know y'all be loving this shit right here. Rolling. What you gonna do? What you gonna do, man? In the rolling. What you gonna do? Right, y'all be loving this shit. What you know about